Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about baby plates. So I'm Daniel Norton, photographer here in New York. I make videos like this about technique, about philosophy. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe and let's get to it. Okay, so what the heck is a baby plate? Well, baby is a typical term used for 5/8, which is kind of your standard, if you're a photographer, you've probably seen this, is a standard light stand size. So the baby plate is a plate that has a baby pin generally on it, the pin being 5/8. You can mount lights to this, you can mount a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it's pretty universal for that type of thing. Now, there's different styles of baby plates. There's, of course, the kind with the pin that I just said of various different lengths. You know, there's different manufacturers. Like this is a Matthews one, it's got a slightly smaller bottom. And here's a Kupo one here that is right angle, okay? So the thing about these is that what they're for is either permanently or temporarily installing, ways to mount something that's 5/8 on a location. So I say temporarily or permanently because a lot of times you're, let's say, in a location and you need to mount a light in a strange spot, and you can bust out your baby plate and you'll notice that it's got a whole bunch of holes in it, right? This is so we can screw it down or nail it down, I suppose, depending on what you're doing, to various types of things. This will allow us to mount our light or whatever where we want. Oftentimes, though, they're used permanently. You put them in a location as kind of a fixture that's going to stay there forever. You don't want to set up stands. I've seen plenty of people use, especially these right angle ones, to put paper setups, rolls of paper. You take two of these, you screw them in the walls. You actually put a super clamp on it, which we've done a video on before, and you put your bar on the super clamp, and now you've got more or less a permanent background system that doesn't require any kind of stands or whatever, doesn't take up any space, especially in a small studio. That's super useful and also pretty inexpensive. So like I said, a lot of people make these. Matthews, Avenger, Kupo, pretty much most grip companies do it. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, I talk a lot about, what you get for, what you pay for, et cetera, et cetera. With a baby plate, I guess as long as you can look at it and make sure there's not too much you can go wrong with. So I don't think any one brand necessarily is better than another. I haven't found. They're basically a steel pin screwed into a steel plate. So like if you look at it, it looks pretty sturdy and you bang it and it's fine, then whatever brand you want to get is probably fine. I find though that there's not much of a price difference between your Kupo or your Matthews or your Avenger. But what you can do, some of them have different lengths that are available and options, and some, like I said, the Matthews one, for instance, definitely has a smaller plate, which means it takes up less space, but also, if you think about resistance, the bigger plate's going to give you bigger surface area. So you might want the Avenger, let's say, for that reason. Now, besides the ones I have here, they also make baby plates that have like a tilt on it. They make baby plates that are female, meaning they have the female 5/8, so you can stick things into it that are 5/8. They make baby plates that have pins that swivel on them. There's all different types of baby plates available, so depending on what you're looking for, just kind of look for baby plates. I'll put some links in the bottom to some of the most common ones, even the ones I don't have here. But I also just wanted to kind of show you how they would work. So simple enough, any opportunity I have to bust out some tools, I'm gonna do it. All right, so I've got my little screw gun here, got some screws, I got my baby plate. So let's say this is like one of the oddball boxes we have here, and let's say I wanted to mount something to this. Let's say a light. I want to put a light on this box for whatever reason. I think this is a better option than, let's say, putting it on a stand for whatever reason. It could also just be a flat board. There's lots of things it could be. It could be this door. Maybe we'll do that next, right? I mean, all you really have to do is, simply, you can just screw it in. And depending on like how long you're going to leave it set up, what you have on there, you can screw, like if I'm just doing this temporarily, I might only just throw a couple of screws into it. These are self-tapping, and they're also not very long. So, I mean, if I was putting something heavy on this, I would put longer screws. If you're putting them into, something more permanently, you might want to use anchors. So there's all different ways to do it, right? And it's pretty simple just to come over here and, now I will say that I know a lot of people are very sensitive about their out boxes. So if you have brand new spanking out boxes somewhere and you don't want to screw into it, I can understand. That's fine. That's why I have beat up ones. But now I've got this box, right? The plate's on here. I could mount a light to it. I could do whatever I want. I'm golden. Okay, so let's say I'm putting this up here on this door, right? I've got the right angle plate. I'm just going to go in here. And again, same process. Obviously, if you're in somebody's house, make sure it's okay to put it on there. But depending on how long I'm going to put it and how heavy the fixture is, I'm going to be able to put this on here. I can put, as many screws as I need to. longer screws, put things behind it. One technique that I've done a lot is what I'll do is I'll take like if I'm going to put it on a door, I won't actually screw into the door. What I'll do is I'll get a 1x4 or whatever, 1x6 board and put it here, and then I'll clamp the board to the side of the door, and then I'll screw into that. That way you're not damaging the door. It's another way to do it. There's all kinds of ways to do this, but the idea here is basically that the baby plate is just going to allow you to mount things where you need to, whenever you need to, with screws, keeping it nice and simple. A couple other quick things we can do with the baby plate. So this is a C-stand. If you're going to put a light on here, I always say to use one of these, which is a 650 pin. It's basically a 5/8 pin. If you didn't have one, this is 5/8, so it's baby, right? It's all the same. So I could actually use my baby plate as kind of a substitute 650 if I needed to. That's still much better than putting the light on the other end. And like a 650, if this loosened up, right, and it was upside down, it wouldn't slide through, versus using like a regular pin that would just slide through. One thing that makes the 650 really interesting or useful is, probably mentioned this a million times, is that it's like a nail on the top, so it's flat. That way it doesn't fall through. I'm going to do an entire video on C-stands, so I'm not going to get too much into that right now. But yes, you could put a light on here if you need to in a pinch. So if you only got 650, if you don't have any 650s, I should say, and you just have some baby plates sitting around, you can certainly use that as a replacement for it. They're probably a little more expensive, so maybe not worth it to buy instead of, but in a pinch, it'll work. Also, and the reason why I kind of figured this out at one point was because one thing I do a lot with these is if I'm doing any splashes, like if I'm doing drinks and I'm going to do like a pour, like a wine pour, or drop something in, I'll often use the baby plate on my C-stand like this. I'm making like a little table with it. And what I'll do is I'll get it flat down like this. I'll put it lower clearly, but I just want to show you in the video. You're going to put your cup on here, right? It's going to allow you two things. You can either do it flat, like this, or oftentimes when I'm doing wine pours, I'll do like a little angle because it kind of looks nice to watch the wine glass. But what you do is you use some tape or whatever, you tape your glass on here. Or if you want to show the bottom of it, you can put a little, a tile, like a sticky tile on there or whatever temporarily. You do this because it allows you to stretch the arm out over like a bucket or something to catch the water, so it's not so messy, right? If you start doing splashes on tables, the table gets soaking wet, it's like a whole big mess. This is much easier to deal with, much easier to clean. So if you're in your studio, this is way easier. It's like a little tiny table. And I guess if you didn't have like a tethering table with you, you could also take one of these and get a small piece of board, put it on there like that, and you could use this basically as a table to put your laptop on. So that's another option for it as well. So many things that you can do with these. I mean, literally it's standard pin plus plate that you can screw onto a million different things. So super, super useful. I've done some homemade sock boxes I've made with them, or fluorescent fixtures where I bought fluorescent fixtures from the Home Depot or whatever, and screwed these through the back so I could put it on a light stand properly. I mean, there's just almost no end to what you can do with these. They're super useful. Unlike, let's say, a super clamp like we did a video for, there's not a million accessories that go with them, but the accessory for this is your imagination, right? Like whatever you think you can do with it, you can do all kinds of stuff. I'd love to know what you guys do with these, or if you've never seen them before, or if you have seen them, some ideas that you might have that you might do with it if you haven't before. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so you get the notifications, and I'll see you next time.